meeting. I have a business meeting tomorrow.
Sir? Oh, sweetheart. Here, take this.
Hello, welcome to ENCORE, the Facebook Live platform on which we discuss all things love, marriage, relationship, and sex. They call me Uncle Ebo White. I am the CEO of Roman Productions. But for the purposes of this platform, all you need to know is that I am dedicated to helping you become your best self. You are aware that over the last 2 weeks, we've been bringing you experienced and seasoned couples to tell their story. And we've had a ball with them. Today, I am pleased to welcome here my twin brother. Yes, this is a man I was told about before I met him. His daughter is still a member of my group, and then they told me, "Hey, are you aware that Mame Efua's father looks very much like you, or you look very much like Mame Efua's father?" And when we met, I was convinced that my father or his father might have gone to do something somewhere and left an unregistered parcel behind. So we're going to have a ball today. Fortunately, their daughter is also in the house with their son-in-law. But before I go to them. There's a lot that happens in the studio before we come on air. A lot of very interesting things happen. And today, I think I've just found the best, the one that wins the title of it. And so, good afternoon, Kobina. I mean, you are an incredible person. You are an incredible person. And Becky Afishiapa. So, well, having said that, I will now have the couple introduce themselves. As I have done, I haven't introduced any couple on this platform. So, over to you. Who are you, sir? Talk with the camera.
I was born and named Kojo Amwesi Enyumayo. Over the years, I acquired a profession of medical doctor and public health specialist. And 35 years ago, I met and married a young, pretty lady called Evelyn.
And you've managed to make her stay pretty.
She is. She's more pretty than when I met her. And we have had 3 even more beautiful daughters out of that combination.
Yeah. All right. Auntie Evelyn, your turn.
My name is Evelyn Enyumayo. I'm a nurse by profession, a public health nurse by profession. I now work with Leicester Hospital as a nurse manager.
Great. Doc, what is it about doctors and nurses?
It's an occupational hazard. It is, absolutely.
Look into the camera.
We'll leave it at that. I will ask you to explain what you mean by that. Okay, so Doc, tell us, how did the journey with Evelyn begin?
Oh, I was a young doctor. I'd finished my housemanship 2 years earlier, spent some time in Tamale, and then actually transferred to a mission hospital. So I ended up in Agogo Hospital.
Okay.
And the first Christmas of my arrival there was a Christmas get-together for the entire staff.
Okay.
I was young, but just by virtue of being a doctor, I was at the high table.
That's right.
And after a very fascinating Christmas party, I noticed a young lady in blue. I remember the dress very carefully. She was in blue, and she had a natural afro hair. She caught my eye. She really caught my attention. So somewhere during the break period, I strolled over to her and asked her name, and that was the beginning.
And then, your version.
And then he came to me at the party and said, "Let's exchange drinks." And I said, "Why?" Why? Because you have Guinness and I have Coke. They are 2 different things. So I went back to the host and I said, "Look at this young doctor. He came, he thought he can bluff." So he came to me with Guinness and said I should exchange it for Coke. What is the meaning of this? So we all started laughing. And then one of our specialist lecturers in medical nursing, he came to lecture. And then he cracked jokes. So we called him Dr. Oli. And then he invited only the ladies for tea. According to him, we shouldn't study the night before exams. That was our final exams.
Okay.
And so he said we should not study. But he's inviting only the ladies to his apartment for a cup of tea and cake. So that evening, I became very ill with malaria. So I couldn't attend. And then he was able to know that there's one particular person who didn't attend this tea party. And so they came back to tell me that he says it's examination fever, so he should get out the hill. And then after the first paper, and then some of his tips, he gave us a few things to study, and then some of them came. So we finished writing this medical nursing paper, and then I had to report because there was a break of this malaria. I was still shivering inside me, so I went to the consultant and look, he was the one who was
Doctor
there,
on duty.
doctor on duty. So he attended to me and said, "Oh, examination fever." I became annoyed at that time that I didn't show it, and then he gave me treatment. The next day I had no paper, so I was able to recover a bit, and I wrote the exams and finished. And then we parted. And then he came back. Also, we finished 1980. He went for specialist course in Kolebu and then came back again 1981 when I was about to leave for Kumasi. Because after completion, I said, this is village. I've worked here 4 years.
Like
I want to go into the city to Kumasi where my mother was. And then he came back and said, I'm visiting you this weekend. So why are you rushing into life? And I said, what is wrong with this doctor? What does he think he is? Rushing into life. I'm going to Kumasi, to city. And then he followed me to Kumasi. Asked him what happened.
All right, over to you.
It's obviously a long story, but I think given the time, I have to make it shorter than the reality is.
Okay.
So it's a 4-year story. From the time I laid eyes on her until the time I actually proposed to her, it took 4 years. We parted ways. She went to Kumasi, briefly Obuasi. Kumasi. And then I went back to Kolebu to work, and I kept writing. And she's a very bad letter writer. I have to tell you, very, very bad. So for every 4 letters I wrote, I got one. You know, it's not like WhatsApp these days, where then you get a reply, then you see the person typing reply. So, but I had patience. I had a lot of patience because I'd seen something good in her. In her attitude to work, her attitude to her patients, her courage in standing up, even to doctors who were not doing the right things. It impressed me. And I had told myself, I wasn't ready to marry, but I told myself that if and when I'm ready to marry, this is the kind of woman I want to marry. So it took 4 years. She didn't know it, that all my letters were investments. So in 1983, I actually finally proposed to her. And it was in Kumasi Cultural Center. I remember the tree under which we stood. Yes, it was under the tree. This is in Kumasi Cultural Center. It's etched in my memory for life.
4 letters get 1 response. Until then, why?
I wasn't sure. Because at that time, when he was writing, somebody else had proposed to me. But because of tribal differences, our parents were posing problems.
Okay.
He was from the north, and my mother was in disagreement. And so we were working things out, praying about it. But then finally, he himself saw that it wasn't going to be possible. So somewhere around April, he wrote to me that we should end this relationship. He was still writing. And it takes me time. Even him, it took me time to write to him. That is me. I wasn't sure. I was so young. I didn't know much about marriage. And I think I wasn't prepared at that time for marriage because I wanted to proceed to abroad to pursue further courses in nursing. That was my intention. And then he came in, and then I think in June. And then he came in, he took me out to the cultural center. We sat under a tree. He brought some sandwiches and tea. We sat down to drink and then eat, and then other cookies. And then he proposed.
And, so what made you say yes?
I didn't even say yes. So I said he should give me time to think.
Okay.
So he came back about 4 times. Then I said, okay.
He's serious.
This man is serious. Okay, let's start something.
Wow, Aiko.
Yeah, yeah.
At that time, he had come back to Agogo, from Kolebu to Agogo.
Okay, he had finished
And
his
then
specialization.
he was then coming from Agogo to Kumasi all this time. Some weekends when he's off duty, he was in Kumasi to see me. So I said, okay, yes.
How has the journey been? So
And
this will be 30.
35 years. We'll be
It will
36 in December.
December 4th.
Yeah.
So how has it been?
An interesting journey. I think I'll use a neutral word like interesting. If I can. Interesting. Very, very exciting at the beginning because you were discovering each other. Every aspect of it was exciting. I mean, getting to know the person you'd seen, getting to reinforce or dismiss some of the impressions that I had about her. It was exciting, and then thinking together about the future. And of course, there was also the physical and sexual aspect to the relationship, which was an important aspect of it all. So I would say easily the first 7 years was the honeymoon period. Yes. Yes. Wow. I mean, we had 3 children during that time.
During the 7 years.
During the 7 years. So there were 3-year intervals. So it was all quite exciting. Not to mention that we professionally we also had things to share. I was a doctor, especially in public health, still doing some clinical work. She was a nurse, very hard-working nurse, which I continued to appreciate. And the other exciting thing is that in that course, in the early days, I went on transfer, and she would come. I insisted that my family always went with me. There never was a time when I would leave them behind. So every new transfer was a new adventure.
That's right.
And that sitting back, I think those changes were opportunities for us to share new experiences. Can I stop at the 7 years? Those were the best parts. I don't want to add any more. Yes.
I would say that if you put it on a scale and you weigh the journey, it's been good. The good side is better, more than the bad side. There are challenges in marriage.
Yes.
I started the whole journey with Christ being the center of the marriage, because before I married, I knew who Jesus Christ was. And I turned to him in every aspect of the marriage. I prayed a lot, and I still pray. And then I came across a book. I think it's something Omroton, and it reads the power of a praying wife. I've forgotten the author's name. I think it's S.O. I can't remember the name properly. I think so. And I read the book, and I read that even the things you don't like about your husband, you have to pray about it. So I started the journey, praying about everything that came into our. And then I saw that when there were arguments, and the argument continued, and I said, this is not from God, because marriage is an ordained institution created by God right from beginning, and it should work.
That's right.
So it should be trustworthy, we can become annoyed, but the sun will not go down.
On your
So I use the word of God also.
Okay.
So when I was annoyed, by evening I should be better.
Yeah.
I should stop fighting or arguing.
Except when you are annoyed in the evening.
Yes. So that also worked for me. And in a nutshell, I would say that he's a very gentle person. You won't worry your peace of mind.
That's right.
The only time that he will worry you is when you play with work. I remember when we first got married, I was then pregnant with my second baby. We had traveled to the UK. He pursued a second master, so I went with him with our first baby. And then we came back. When we came back, I became pregnant of the second one. So during the first trimester, I wasn't too good. So I decided that I took leave without pay. They don't even know I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go to work. So I want to come over this before.
Yeah.
And then he went to the matron and told the matron, you know, I'm back. I've started work. My wife is also back with me. He hasn't started. Why is he at home? You have to query because the time is up. And the matron was saying, why?
That's your wife.
That's your wife. He said, if you don't query her, I'm going to query you, because he was then the district director of health. So matron quickly wrote to me. And that day, I was shivering. So I went with the with the document to matron and said, matron, oh, but why? And the matron said, hey, your husband is the one who said I should query you. So I came home crying. And then he came back from work. Why are you crying? I said, well, because of your instruction, I've been queried. And I've never had queried in my life. So he came, sat down by me, and he started replying the query also for me. So I took it back, and then the next day I started working. So these are some of the things. You enter his office, and then he will tell, this is office, so please go home, I'll be there with
I'll
you.
come home.
So that is when you play with his work, then it's hard on you.
What made you decide that your wife should be carried? Or at that time she wasn't. You didn't see her as wife. It's another staff.
Yes. I have tried to be clear about what work is, what home is, and what the bigger society requires of me. And I've tried to keep the boundaries clear. I just wanted to add on the qualities of my wife. I wanted a practicing Christian wife to marry. We have had quarrels and debates about this from early parts of our marriage till now. And she is, just to emphasize the point she made about praying, that was one. The other thing too is that because my childhood experience was that of a family where we had a good, dedicated, loving father, but where we never had one mother stay long enough, I had decided that I wanted my marriage to be for life. I thought that it made a lot of difference to have a mother around the house. So those were also aspects that went into the consideration and that went into the discussions to reinforce why we agreed to
your happiest memory?
My happiest memory was
of time with Evelyn.
With Evelyn, well, it involved the birth of my first daughter. It was a fascinating, how shall we say it, out of this world experience. I mean,
what made it so?
First of all, the 9 months of pregnancy was new to me. I'm a doctor. I had helped deliver babies many times, had operations, but having your own woman, your own wife, pregnant with your baby, and watching the baby grow in the abdomen or the womb, feeling the first movement, seeing how the baby reacts when the mother has eaten. Imagine that the baby has gone to sleep. Imagine that when you talk, the baby is listening to you. All those were exciting moments. But the day the child was born, and I walked into the labor ward and held the baby in my arm with the mother. I was a doctor, so in those days we weren't allowed, but the man was allowed. It was the most exciting moment of our life together as a family.
Wow.
I would think so.
That was how many years after marriage?
1 year.
1 year.
Sharp.
Rapid response.
It was actually 9 months.
9
9 months.
9 months.
Because we married in December, I delivered in September.
Honeymoon was very crucial.
Yes.
Auntie Evan, your happiest moment with Doc?
As for me, my happiest moments are the times when we had together with the girls, especially on morning devotions. He would take the lead and he will contribute. I was happy. I was happy because we were bringing these children up in Christ's Christian way.
Yeah.
And then he traveled for 2 years to Geneva. And then I had good moments with the girls. We could fast. We could do everything together. The girls were with me. We'll pray in the morning. We'll eat breakfast together on table. Then I'll take them to library. We'll do homework. And then sometimes we'll declare fast. And all of us will fast. The girls will fast for maybe up to 10 a.m. And then the older one to 12. And then I will continue till evening. These are very exciting for me.
Okay.
Yes.
So that he wasn't there.
He wasn't around.
Yes.
He was in Geneva working and he brings money. So I was also happy.
Just to add
And visits every 6 months.
why she says that that's also a good time is I don't fast. I don't fast. and fasting is very important to her. So my absence was actually welcome as far as that aspect. And children are more likely to do what mother or parents will be doing. Yeah. So that was that aspect.
The darkest moment, Auntie Evan?
Darkest moments, one of them I told you when I had a query letter from me. I wasn't happy at all.
Okay.
So I was loggerheads with him.
Even though he helped to answer?
Yes, because I thought he shouldn't have done that. Another, now I can't remember another one. I'm growing old, but there was another one. What happened? Tell me.
Oh, there are several. What would be? I'll mention one that is not a dark moment, but it came within the first 7 years, and it's something that stuck in my memory. We once went to the next village from Agogo. It's called Shidium, and on the way back, we had two friends, Mr. and Mrs. Mensah, late Mensah and the wife, in the car. But as we're going down the hill from Shidium to Agogo, she and I had an exchange of words over something very petty, and we both got annoyed. And she said, "I'm getting down." And I said, "Get down." Out of the car. So she got out of the car.
I can't even remember.
Yeah, you won't remember. She got out. And then, of course, my friends were surprised. They'd never seen me, or her. But anyway, they persuaded her. She came into the car. But that event struck me. It's the first real event that struck me that even in a honeymoon, even with a lovely, honeyed relationship, there are flash moments that, if not handled right, can lead to other. Because it was good that our friends were with us at that time. They prevailed on us to sit together in the car. I was ready to drive away and leave her walking down to the hospital. That is fun.
After she said she wanted to get down.
Yes, and it's okay. But then with age, you mature. Another time is we've had I won't mention all the details, but we reached a point where we said, "Look, I don't mind if this marriage ends." This is way down. I mean, further right. And I realized at that time we're not communicating enough. We're not communicating enough. It's we left with as the relationship goes on. Sometimes you think you know what the person intends, even when the person hasn't said it, or when the person is saying it, you stop listening because you've heard it over and over. So communication was pretty poor. And I remember one again. It was on a journey. It was from Takrady, we had gone to the funeral of neighbors and we're driving back and we had a row in the car and we both agreed that we're ready to end the marriage.
Generally, you see,
It looks like the two of you are not saving a
he's
car.
very straight.
It's all your fault.
He's very straight, and sometimes he turns into a difficult man. And so when he's difficult, that's when the arguments come.
Okay.
And even one of the girls, she used to call my father. He's Doctor Nana. I'm going to see difficult in my because when it was time for them to go for their money for school, for provisions and things, you have to give 10 reasons why you've written that. So they used to call, yes, for my father, he's difficult, Doctor Difficult in Yimayo. Sometimes he can be very difficult or straight. I would say is the word straight. And with Christ at the center of any marriage, you can smile at the storm. They come. And because I forgive him, I can't even remember.
Okay.
Because the word of God says we should, he will forgive us and we should also forgive others. And I try to forget what is not right. That is me.
Okay.
So sometimes I don't even remember the bad things about the marriage. But I know there have been challenges.
Which of you has the hottest temper?
You.
I think I will call witnesses.
Especially this time, that when it's old age, you see, when we were young.
Well, the witness we were going to call, I'll call her myself and put her on the stand sometime. So please get a mic ready for Mamefua. We'll go to Mamefua at that time. So the picture that I'm getting is that, yes, this relationship has been a success.
Yes.
Yes, it's been wonderful, but you've had your dark times. You've had your disagreements. You've had difficulties.
Yes.
And what has helped you in those times? What has helped you to move on and to decide that even though you have said that, you know something, I wouldn't mind this thing, this relationship dissolving. What made you go beyond that?
Okay, a few things. I think I said earlier that I wanted an enduring marriage. I wanted a marriage in quotes for life.
Yeah. Unlike your father's.
Unlike my father's, yes, indeed. So that's a very long-term perspective,
That's right.
and I tend to think very long-term and try to invest long-term. So that was very important. And many times when things were bad, I said, fine. Then, of course, along the way, we had 3 lovely doctors. I think they are the most fantastic ladies I have come across, young ladies. I mean, after their mother, of course. So it was always a delight to think that we could all grow together.
Yeah.
That was important because I'd seen families like that and I loved it.
Yeah.
As I grew older, I had a more selfish reason. And shall I tell you?
Yeah.
Tell us.
I had a more very selfish,
tell
but
us,
it's
maybe I
a
don't know.
reality. I studied in public health and just, observing around that women outlive men.
Yes.
Wives outlive husbands.
Not all.
Husbands generally become weaker and more dependent on the other partner.
Yeah.
So for a selfish reason, I wanted a hard-working, good woman
Dependable.
Take care
who is
of you.
dependable, who has a family history of longevity.
That's right.
Her great-grandmother lived to well over 90. We don't know the age.
Yeah.
Her grandmother definitely over 90, closer to 100. Her mother is 80 and going strong. Her father was 90. So I was sure, it's a sure banker, that she will be strong in those age and I would have a good carer.
Yes. And then,
For me, one, it is because of God. In the sense that I strongly believe that when we said the vows and we said to God, death will part us, then I have this goal that only death is going to part us because I've made this vow to God. And the way I believe in God, God heard, and He's looking, and I will have to account.
Yes.
If I leave this marriage, I will have to account. So that is also another one thing. And then two, I'm also from a broken home. My father and my mother divorced after two of us, because my mother said he never wanted a short man to marry, and then he was forced into it. And then he went into that time, according to her, they will perform everything one day and tell you that today you are going with your sister and one house help to your husband. So they brought her to Accra, and then he came and saw this short gentleman and said, this man, I'll never marry him. So she went back to the village, and the father says, if you don't marry him, then when I die, don't attend my funeral. Because this is a young man who has been to college, because my father has then finished secondary school and was then the UAC manager. So the father said, who are you? You didn't even attend school. So she was brought back. And within, I think, 3 years, they had two of us, and she said, no, this is not a marriage house. So she just went back to the village. That was how they ended, and both of them married. I had a good time with my stepmom, but I always said, at one time, I didn't even know I had another mother.
Okay.
But I said, when I marry, I will marry once. And that is it. Whether the person even die 3 years, 4 years, that is marriage. That is me, I won't marry again. I've always said that. So that has always kept me. And he's not a bad man. He's gentle. Sometimes he's difficult. But, I mean, he looked after the children. Their school fees was not my headache. When they were going to school, wasn't my headache. And there wasn't difficulty as such in money-wise. You always try to find money somewhere, going for consultancies here. So I also supported him. So I think
those are wonderful things, but I can tell you, those listen to us, they are not impressed by that. How romantic is he?
He's very romantic. Okay. Otherwise, I'm not. He is very, very romantic, because let me tell you a secret. When we married, I told him, I don't even know how to have sex.
Yeah.
He said, I will teach you. And so he taught me, and I think he's a very good teacher. And he was gentle in that aspect, taught me everything, and now I think he's a good teacher.
You've forgotten the tea and the coffees and the cakes and all those flowers and things that I bring you. And
those ones, you know, the fancies. You know, they can really boss you, because one day you go to work and come back, there's chocolate on table. Sometimes there's a rose flower on the bed. Hey, this man is very romantic, to be honest. And so I learned from him also, and I tried to do something small. And he was the one doing all those, and he took us to holidays, not outside. Sometimes Elmina here, every Friday was family outing, so we went to a restaurant to eat something, so I didn't have to cook. Okay. Those things were very nice.
Some of your secrets, romantic secrets, what are some of the things you've done?
Romantic secrets.
Yeah.
A secret.
Touché. Yeah, but share some of the tricks with us. What are some of the, what is the craziest thing you've done for Auntie Evelyn? The craziest.
Craziest.
One of the crazy ones you've done.
Really crazy things. Really crazy things. Oh, that I cannot hit on a particular one.
Tell them about when we had our first baby. I didn't know you didn't need to get out of bed after a while. Though I'm a midwife, I had forgotten. So I got out of bed, and we lived inside the hospital. So I went to the house to bath instead of bathing in the hospital. And then when I went, he was actually scrubbing the floor. He's made all the beds in the house white. The baby's cot white. He has washed everything and was ironing. I didn't know he was hardworking like that. Because after that, when you send him, he doesn't go. And even when we came back from work, he would stretch in the sofa and be reading newspaper. I'll put my bag down straight away to the kitchen to make sure he eats something. So anytime I'm pregnant, you send him, he will go.
Nice.
When I deliver, when I send him, he doesn't go.
I think she can give them more testimony.
I send him.
But I guess if talking about room, I do, those things I do naturally, so I don't see them as out of place.
Okay.
If that's what you mean.
All right. Okay, now I understand. And the roses,
The roses come
the
naturally.
chocolate.
Come naturally.
And then what is it with you and tea?
Oh, tea. Tea. It's a long story. You don't.
It's a British
Let's have
man.
another session about tea.
He drinks tea morning, afternoon, evening. And then let me tell you a secret.
Yes.
When we had our wedding, we had a cake, wedding cake. So they gave us the top that we should go and keep in the fridge. I didn't know anything about weddings and cake. I was so naive. We put this in the freezer. Anytime he took tea, he would cut small and eat with the tea. Anytime he took tea, throughout. Then it was 1 year. And then we had a small meal together. We invited 2 more couples to come and join us home to celebrate our first anniversary. Then after Dr. Ako said, bring the cake. This time the 2 of you. I said, hey, the cake. He has eaten it all. So that is how he likes sweets and cakes and also tea. Anytime he did tea, he go and catch one and be eating. I didn't know.
Yeah. I think for the benefit of this discussion, I mean, you talk about romance, romantic moments, but I've always believed that my wife should be handled gently.
Yeah.
I think that is really it. And so even when we fight, even when we quarrel, we try to make amends. I try to make amends. I think that really is that can be the secret is.
I have met one of your daughters, Mamefua, and she's a good testimony to the 2 of you. And I'm told that she's only 1 of 3.
Yes.
That the other 2 are as wonderful as Mamefua.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. So, what has helped you to raise 3 beautiful girls and to keep them level-headed and to keep them on the straight and narrow?
I think first and foremost, if you are not a Christian, I'm sorry, but it is because of God. I've committed these children. When I was even pregnant, I always prayed for them.
Okay.
When they come out, I start praying with them. Right when I'm on my lap, they are breastfeeding, we are singing. I'm singing to them the praises of God. And then the second thing is that the 2 of us teamed up with God. Because if you don't team up, you are on this direction, he is on this direction, the children don't get the best out of it. But we teamed up. When the father said this is not right, I sided with him. When he also saw me doing something which wasn't right.
Move the mic a bit closer to
this one.
Just a tip.
This,
Yes. Okay, go on.
Yeah,
right.
anytime he also calls me to say what I did like this and that was not right, I also listened. And the 2 of us also had one mouth. With the children, as far as they are concerned, they know when to approach him and when to come to me. And when they were growing and they were teenagers, if you are not careful, they will play one against the other.
Right, yes.
But you have to team up. Anything that is discussed with him, you come and discuss with me and we give one answer.
Yeah.
Anytime they discuss something with him, I discuss with him, we give one answer. And that's how, through God's help, we have managed to bring them up.
What has it been like raising 3 girls?
Very fascinating experience. I won't give it up for anything. Just to start from the end,
Yes.
I advise all my friends, the children of my friends, to pray for daughters. And so I'd say the same to all of you here. Pray for daughters. If you have to choose only one sex, pray for daughters.
Well, you know, I told you guys that I'm hosting my twin brother because I have always said I would choose a daughter any day.
Absolutely.
Yes.
You can't go wrong with girls. Listen, now I'm preaching. Can
Okay,
I?
yeah, go ahead.
Yes. People often say that, she'll get pregnant. The reality is that the girls by far and large, are far more responsible, far more welcome to advice and to, as it were, not molding, but to
Being directed.
being directed and guided. Far more than the boys. And I have so many friends who talk about the problems they have with their sons, and I've seen many of them. So about now coming back directly to the question about bringing up the daughters. I had a father who was born in 1920. In his time, and until he started having his own children, it was very unfashionable, almost undesirable to send daughters to school.
That's right.
To send daughters to school. Everybody wanted a son.
That's right.
And give the son the name he was there. But he was ahead of his time in that when he started having children, he had 2 girls in a row. He wanted them as well educated as far as their minds would take them.
That's right. That's right.
So there was no discrimination with opportunities.
Okay.
And that is what I inherited. Probably genetically, but certainly as I looked around, yes, with my sibling. So that was a very clear growing up message for me, and it was the same. Our daughters can go as far as they want to. That was as far as their natural abilities also allowed. And that was one. The other thing too is that we said our daughters should be with us through the growing up period. I remember when I was courting Evelyn, she said, "Oh, if I get the chance to go to Germany,
No, UK.
UK, will you let me go?" I said, "I don't believe in marriages, families being brought up apart." That was the end of that discussion. So we have always wanted them together, being, and especially being girls, having them together, and then going out. The other thing we always did was to encourage them to bring their friends home, boys, girls. So I know about the first kiss of some of my daughters.
Okay.
They would come and tell me. They would tell me, not the mother.
All right. Okay.
So it was that kind of openness with them, believing in their ability to go as far as they wanted to go, and also listening to them. I mean, we didn't always dictate. There were times when we gave them, but we always, and this is more general for all, we always let them know the consequences of their decisions. So if they come and say, "Oh, Papa, I want ice cream, and I want a pencil, and I want a doll," okay, the answer was always, "You can choose one. Which one do you want?" Okay. so the choice was thrown back to them, and they had to make the choice, and we stuck to the choice. So it has been exciting, and as they grew older and they also took responsibility, it was even more delightful. Now we listen to them. Now you'd be surprised. When I want contacts for certain companies, I'll call my daughter. "Any of your friends, manager of this place, please, I want." So it has been a process of helping them grow. Now they are helping us age.
That's right.
And then let me tell you why they wouldn't tell me that they've had their first kiss, because we had a Bible discussion which says the man who kiss you or put your back on the mat is the one who walks you onto the altar. And that was it. No compromising. And then I was their friend also. Sometimes today, what's the filler? And they would tell me. And I told them also right from beginning, you don't insult anybody. So I remember Abner came back from school. Mama, somebody today insulted. He said the person is a fool. I said, "I'll go and tell Mama what my mother would do to you." So she knew that the insult was not proper. So I started teaching them this, and I know that it's not my own might, and I know that it is the grace of God which has helped me to this far, and I'm happy with them.
Great. No, you have every cause to be proud of the 3 girls you have raised. Definitely of Mamefua, who is a jewel and a gem. Now, do we have any questions or any comments out there?
Yes, we do.
All right. Let's take a few questions and then we would
We have
come.
a lot of comments. Uncle, people still want to know if it's your twin brother. Mama Evelyn, please, what did you consider before accepting Daddy's proposal?
Hmm. Do I even know? Because this man was persistent, coming, and then he doesn't all the way from Agogo.
And later
And at the
Accra.
same time,
later
you
Accra.
come, you take me out somewhere, we'll have a meal together, and then as for his tea, he'll have his tea, and then he'll send me back home, and then one thing that he does, which was so fascinating, my parent kept saying, this is a man you should be thinking of. This, and everybody, my cousins were all talking about him. This is a gentleman who will come home, ask permission to take you out, bring you back before he sets out to Agogo. And my mother said, why is this man traveling all the way? So now I started thinking about it. So finally I thought it's somebody I could live with. So
Okay. Great.
Another question to you, Mama. It says, if it wasn't the CNC in Kumasi and under the tree, would you have preferred another place for a proposal?
actually, I didn't know much about proposals. So I was so naive. I hadn't thought of marriage. I didn't even know that you have to propose to somebody. So when he did that, I was very impressed. I didn't know what it was. So I went home. I discussed with a friend. And I said, Monica, now listen to this doctor. Today we went under a tree. It was so nice. And we took tea. We took cakes. And said, Evelyn, are you still that young? You are not young. You are 27. For God's sake, this is somebody who wants to marry you. So, I mean, sit up. This is a good friend I went to secondary school with. And I also went to nursing school with. The parents, our parents knew each other. We could sleep in each other's house. When the brother died, I was the one the school sent home with.
Okay.
So he said, Evelyn, sit up. You are not that young, 27. And what are you thinking about? What do you think he wants? He wants to marry you. So what he said is, will you marry me? And I said, well, let me think about it. I didn't know what to say. So later, and then when even that, he came about 4 times. And you know, that final time, he said if I had said no, he wouldn't come again. Wow. And I didn't know. So after that, I said, okay, yes.
Which of your daughters were most troublesome and how did you deal with her?
Beginning, it was Abena. And then she argued about everything. and then she also will compare when you gave them something. I make sure when I sew a dress for them, it's the same color, the same size, the same length, everything. But she would think she should have gotten that or that. So one time I said, this girl, what is wrong with her at all? So she was beginning. Then later on, it turned to Abba. When she also was entering into the, I think, the adolescent age.
Yeah.
She was very troublesome and quarrelsome. And then beginning very little. Efua, also, you know what she does? We call her Nsamoni Kotoku. Hey! Anytime you called Efua will not answer. All that you hear is and then we are looking for him. Hey, because she will be doing something wrong. And then the time you call and say, me, but he has put all the powder on the floor. He has put the pomade on the hair. He has put water on the floor, and you have to work. In the latter stage, he hasn't given me much problem during the growing age. I used to talk to them about puberty. I told them about sex before marriage. I told them about what it means, the consequences. I told them everything. That is what we should do as mothers. Okay. Have time with them. After prayer, let them also know what is reality. Assuming you went in with a man, what will happen, the consequences. Tell them. Be frank. One time, Abba came to me at 7 years. Mama, what is condom for? 7 years old. And I was like, what is wrong with you? And the father was standing there and said to me, show her condom and tell her what it's used for. I said, I can't. He said, you go to work, bring me, because I was the family planning there. So I brought condom. We sat her down. We taught her everything at 7 years old. And then I was so uncomfortable. 7 years. And then after we've done everything, and she says, so do you use condom? And the father said, oh, it's for adults. And then that's it.
Okay.
Doc,
Yes.
you wanted to say something?
Oh, I think they had their different stages of trouble, or being troublesome. But as I said, they've all turned out to be fantastic,
Very, very
Yeah.
fantastic
And we thank God
people.
for
Yes.
that. We thank God for that. Yes.
How did you handle financial challenges, if there were any?
There were. There always are. She said earlier that I tried to provide. Yes, but you know that money has a way of encouraging you to spend more. So irrespective of how much you have,
Yeah.
you tend to overspend. The thing is, the way we got around it was to learn to plan and budget strictly. So soon after our marriage, we learned to keep a budget book, expenditure book. We still do.
Wow.
We still do. It's a small exercise book where in the beginning of the month, we both put money into a cupboard for specified expenses, apart from our private expenses. And then as you spend, you take. We've agreed on the budget. Without that planning, you cannot. I can say almost categorically, no matter how much you got, you'll overspend it. And then also we learned to save. First, when we started, we had a joint account. With time, with experience, with the other realities of maturity and other responsibility, we decided to split our accounts, have individual accounts, and then have another joint account into which we put money. It turned out, it brought peace and quiet.
It worked out better.
Better.
Yes.
What has kept you together even in times of disagreements?
Do we go?
Well, I
over
think
that?
they've answered that one. So let's go on to the next question. There's no next question.
Sorry, just a minute. Okay, I think for now,
Okay.
good.
Mamefo, you've heard your parents. Let me have your comment, and then if you have any question for them, you can go ahead and ask. Please put Mamefo on camera. I would like people to see Mamefo. Adrian, don't go away. All right, let's go. Mamefo, in Saboni Kotoku.
Somebody kotoku.
Your question.
Okay, so my question. Okay, can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, just to say that you've been really amazing parents in different ways. You all have different characteristics that have, and as a team, it has helped us to grow as the young women we are today, and we really appreciate that, and we thank you for being the kind of parents you've been for us. So my question is that. My question is that what advice do you have for young married couples or couples who are seeking to marry? What would you tell them for their journey ahead?
Okay. So, Auntie Evelyn,
Very brief. 1 minute.
1 minute. I don't want me to talk.
no, go ahead.
Um,
I'm watching it.
the meaning of a young woman is aketesia, and then it means katauhusi. I'm urging all Ghanaian women, young ones, to try and hide your body from the man you are going to marry. I was having a talk with a young lady at work, and I said, why are you pregnant before the man? If the man decides not to perform the customary rites, what will you do? And I said, oh, nowadays, man, if you don't give your body, the man will not marry. Then I think, and then I said, then that is not your husband. The man whom God has destined to marry you will marry you if you tell him to wait.
Yeah.
So I think women, wait. Let the man perform all the customary rites. Pray along. So you should have somebody who understands God to marry, so that the person will understand, and then you keep your body, you pray together, and you do everything together and get married. When you get married, marriage, before you go into it, you should know that it's an ordained institution that God has created, and you are going into it forever, and you are not coming back for life, and it is death which will part you. So you should understand that. The second thing is that when you have challenges and you are arguing, don't say things that will pain the other person so much that when the person even forgives you, he remembers.
The pain is still there.
The pain is still there. Be faithful to your husbands, be faithful to your wives, be truthful, be transparent. And the power of a praying wife is very important. The power of a praying parent is important. Power of praying wife is very important, because I've been praying a lot. Each day you mention your children, your husband, your wife, and pray for the person. Have morning devotion together, pray together, study the word together, eat together, bath together. Nowadays we don't bath together, but when he's bathing, I'm there conversing with him.
Okay.
But we used to bath together, eat together in the same plate if you can, at home. Sometime you should have a holiday out, not to go out abroad if you can't afford.
Yeah.
We used to go to Elmina, we used to go to Cape Coast, we used to even go to Papaya with the girls, and that would be outing, Friday outing. They loved it. So go out together sometime.
Okay, Doc.
Anytime a niece, if I think your question was advice for young people, planning to get married,
Who are married and
or planning to get.
she wants advice for herself. Really.
She come home. That one, see me in chambers. For those yet unmarried, whenever my nieces or my nephews or my daughters come to me and say, I want to get married, or someone wants to marry me, my first question is, why does the person want to marry you?
Okay.
And for me, that is the acid test. Why does the person want to marry me? It's not enough to say I love you. And so as soon as they say I love you, I say go and come back. Because the word love, which is used very generously, means different things to different people, and it changes over time. So I think it is critical to keep asking yourself, to ask yourself, why does the person want to marry me? That's the first person. The first question. The second thing is, why do I want to marry that person? And I believe that the key criteria, now I'm talking about those yet unmarried, the key criteria is the person responsible? That's the first. And responsibility in any sense that you want to describe.
Okay.
Two, will the person make a good father, assuming you have children? And if you don't have children, will the person continue to be a good husband? Thirdly, when I say responsibility, has the person demonstrated responsibility? In other words, does the person look after the parents?
Yes.
Does the person look after a sibling?
Yes.
Has he shown that given the chance he or she would be responsible? Those are positive criteria. Once you are married, I think the key point is communication.
Yeah.
Communication is not about picking a phone or writing a note. There's a lot of communication without words, and that's what we must watch for.
Well, time has not been friendly to us at all. It's already time to sign off. Is there any question that has piqued your interest, Abizika?
Yes. From Salia Musala.
Uh-huh.
Most Africans struggle at least to have a boy for family or tribal continuation. Have you ever had challenges or questions from your village elders or
As
family?
Whether you're going to try
A second
to have,
wife.
or everything.
Oh, a second wife.
Did it
Not-
bother
not-
you that you had only daughters?
Oh, when we had our first two children, we're going to stop there. And that's another story. But we're going to stop after two children, and maybe just to. When I was a when I was young, I thought I would have 4 children, and then when I was a medical student, I walked into a labor ward and saw a woman having labor, and I said, I'm not going to allow any woman to go through this 4 times. I'll accept 2. So that was the basis for it, and in our discussion we agreed. But when we had 2 girls, then of course society asked, oh well, we are sure the third one will be a boy, and then we had a girl, and then my father would come and say, Amwesi, don't you have money to care for a 4th child? I will pay for it. So yes, there was that societal pressure, but as we said earlier, they've turned out to be fantastic. And even let's say in the Muslim context, assuming I was to take a second wife, there's no guarantee I would have boys. It probably runs in my family. I think some of it runs. So it's about making the best of the girls too.
Right. I have never really okay, no, I can't say I have never. I know the historical context in which we struggled for boys because of the war. We needed warriors, you needed workers and all that. But in our modern world, I can't understand why there's still the craze that you must have a son. So you have 5 girls and you are still trying. And you keep having more and more. Well, I'd like to thank Dr. and Mrs. Ayimayo. What's the meaning of that name?
It's Enyimayo. And for account speakers, it comes from the phrase say Enyimayewa. Men say missing. So it's usually pronounced Enyimayo. And
if you will not praise me, if you will not appreciate me,
don't spoil my name.
Don't show me contempt either.
Yes.
So, Dr. and Mrs. Imayo, thank you very much for being here with us and sharing your life. The wonderful thing about having been married for 35 years is that whatever mistakes you make, you would have made.
Yes.
They become useful only when you can share them so somebody can avoid making those mistakes. And that is why a platform like this exists. So once again, gratitude to them and to you who make the investment in time and in data to stay with us. Until we come your way again, remember the young men, tea and cake, and under certain tree. Can do the one.
Yes.
Yeah, so saving the tree is important. Let's save the tree.
It has worked miracle.
But it has worked miracle. So stay blessed.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello. They call me Uncle Ebo White. I am the CEO of Roman Productions, but I'm also very much committed to helping you become your better self. Your better self. You see, nobody goes into a love relationship to be miserable. We go into a love relationship to make each other happy.